the restaurant is beautiful, and I don't want to lower the Ides brand or ruin the Ides brand by hating the job, you know? So I want, the idea is to go out on a high.
Hey everybody, this is Dani Valent, and I am so thrilled that you are with me for an episode of Dirty Linen. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and my guest. I'm always interested in having these conversations, not only because I want you to listen to them, but I also get surprised, amused, delighted, confounded, upset. I don't know. I have all the emotions as well. So thanks for being on the ride with me. Today I am chatting to, I reckon, one of the most interesting people in food. His name is Peter Gunn. He is the chef and owner of Ides Restaurant, a restaurant that has been going for almost 10 years. And yes, we know exactly when it opened because we know what's happening next. And yeah, without further ado, welcome Pete to Dirty Linen.
Oh, hello, Dani. Thank you. You know, I reckon maybe before we get started about me, I think I want to say it's probably, what would it be, like 16 years ago, maybe I first came across your path. I've been working with Ben at Attica. And through that time and then my own journey with my own restaurant, I've seen food media come and go, and you've always been there and you've always been rock solid. And so a big thank you for your support, and solid shout out for being rock solid to the industry.
Oh, Pete, that's so nice and very humbling. And I appreciate it. Yeah, look, I think when we first met, you were you sous chef at Attica, or you hadn't even risen to that position, but it was a long time ago?
It was a long time ago, and no, I don't think so. Not when we first met. I started at Attica as a chef de partie, working a section, yeah, and then was there for pretty much 5 years, and by that point, I'd risen to the sous chef. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've really thrown me off guard because I wasn't expecting any of this to be about me. But and it's not that long since we last spoke on the phone, not on a podcast, and it was to talk about Ides, which I've been watching for 10 years. It's had so many different iterations. It didn't even start off as a restaurant. It started as a pop-up in 2013, cusp of 2014. And you opened the restaurant in Smith Street 10 years ago. And then it's been very interesting to watch all the iterations there as well. So interesting, in fact, that I was inspired to head in to review the restaurant. And that review came out a couple of weeks ago. I don't want to make this any more about me, although I do want to talk about that process. But yeah, I guess tell me what you told me two times ago when we spoke, when you decided to change Ides.
We decided, I think, in simple terms. So on reflection, I think we really decided to not necessarily change, but just drop the walls, drop the guard, try and reshape the identity of fine dining, degustation, set menus, and so on and so forth. Because it's probably something I never mentioned, but realistically, when we opened the bar, so after, which was about 3 years ago, we've actually always offered some iteration of an a la carte menu. So really, we just brought it to the forefront and doubled down on the idea in an effort to create, the what Ides is now, which is hopefully encouraging more people to come in, just the way that the industry's changed and people's desire to go to restaurants has changed, and so on and so forth. And, not to mention how I've changed and what I want to be cooking and serving.
I guess we've sort of, for people who don't know the restaurant and haven't followed its journey, they might get a little inkling about Ides because we've mentioned Attica, where you started, or where you were cooking for 5 years. what was Ides at the beginning? What was the restaurant that you wanted to create?
I wanted to create something really loose and energetic, and I wanted to, at the time when it first started, I was, 28, 27, 28, and I had all the ideas in the world, and I was like locked in and committed to Attica, which was, by that point, Bernard was like in full control of his destiny, and he had gone through what I like to think some of the feelings and thoughts and ideas and creativity processes that I had back then. He had been through that, and he had decided, and he had chose the path of going down. And we all know Ben's story. It's much documented, but he had decided to go down that path to highlight and really, push forward Australian native ingredients and so on. And, in the role where that's the focus, I didn't really have the opportunity to express some of the ideas that I had, because quite simply, they just didn't apply. So I really just wanted to find my own outlet to work on these things. And, they do go they end up going hand in hand, because it's like I always express that I believe creativity is like any sort of muscle in your body. Like you've got to use it, otherwise you lose it. And you've got to put yourself in position to create, or like, and realistically to make mistakes and just to give it a go. And so I really, at the start, really just wanted to create an outlet for my own creativity, taking and applying disciplines learned in not only at Attica at the time, but prior to that, I was working with Dan Hunter. That was only for 12 months. It was when he was at the Royal Mail. But I wanted to apply that discipline that I had learned, that I'd never really applied to my not only my cooking, because I was still very young and not in any sort of shape to be running my own kitchen by any means, but also to my personal life. And yeah, one thing after another, like there were always some few rules. Like we wanted it to be a cohesive set menu, never really a degustation of sorts. All that shit sort of came later as things developed. But yeah, Ides was initially set out for a creative sort of flex to some degree, and it just organically took shape, one sort of service after another. We used to host these pop-ups every month, hence the name Ides, the day falling roughly in the middle of each month. And that again, just sort of the nature of like that creativity, that talking, the angle was like, what is that word? What does it sound like? Oh shit, it actually applies, sounds good. Like, and we took the name, we took the shape, and it sort of, yeah, just evolved per se. I don't think well, there's no way I could look back now and have created it on paper. It was all just all in the moment, all by feel, really, all by practice and reps and so on. But yeah, I guess, sorry, that was a bit of a babble, but yeah, Ides was, and I think it still is, it's a restaurant where we promote sort of a range of cuisines and bring them into what I believe is approachable Australian dishes.
Yeah, what are a couple of dishes that we could point to that really speak to the project?
So I don't know. I think like one of the, if I was to give you a menu, because it's always been a menu thing. It's never been able to just serve one dish, because it's been a set menu of sorts. One thing's got to lead into another. So we started with a sesame sourdough, and now peanut butter. I think all that ties into like peanut butter being very very common, very childlike, very very engaging, or like just fun, I think. And it's not something that people would expect to have with dinner or in an environment that's not on toast at home. So I guess our sourdough, which I is from a starter that's actually little bit not as old as our relationship, but it was from Attica, our starter, which is still making bread right this moment right now. So we make a sourdough that I believe we've really got down, and then the peanut butter accompaniment is again, it's something that's like familiar but not common, but then made common because it's like, wow, of course it's delicious. So we take a peanut paste and mix it with butter and give it a heavy amount of salt and so on. So that would be how it would start. And then I think like one of the dishes I really, really enjoyed cooking was a piece of roast barramundi. Everybody sort of likens, whether it's a shrimp on the barbie or it's barramundi, everybody's sort of familiar with barramundi, and I found it to be quite a meaty fish. In New Zealand, I cook with a lot of hapuka and things like that, and it really like related to me in that sort of sense. It was quite a hearty fish, and so we used to serve this dish of barramundi. The fillet was dusted with allspice, some black garlic, and then we made a sweet corn puree, so corn kernels straight off the hob. We wring out some of the juice and thicken that juice, and then fold it through its corn kernels, and then pipe that all over the fish, and then just bake the whole thing through the oven. Once cooked, the corn would be nice and roasted, but it would be a very common ingredient, but have a very like grown up sweet corn, creamed corn type of texture. And then would finish that with, a wild card, which is a reduced lamb jus, bit of truffle oil and salt and a squeeze of orange juice. And it's just all of these things aside, like individually, I think people can sort of relate to, but then you put them together in this way that it's like, oh, it's a bit out there, but then you taste it. And I feel like that was quite a comforting dish. And then I think, we served this lamb neck, which took the shape of like a roast lamb. We would confit it in oil with spices, and then roast off some parsley, and then and then put the nice piece of confit lamb neck onto like the length of parsley, if you can imagine that, just roasted, and then a mint jowl, and then wrap that up, and then roast it back through the oven. And again, it would be like this roast lammy. We all know like parsley sauce, and then I made this vinaigrette with mustard seeds and peas, like raw sugar snap peas. And again, it was like, roast lamb, pea sauce, Sunday vibes, but it looked sick, it looked gnarly. Like I've never really been about the prettiness and pedantic sort of plating of the cooking. It was more so like I really wanted things to sort of look the way that I approached them, in this really organic way. But of course on a beautiful plate in a beautiful setting. And then I think like our strawberries and cream dessert is like this is a really good dessert. It's quite a feminine dessert. But it's around here. We still serve it as a dietary because it's completely vegan. But our strawberries and cream take was the elderflower jelly elderflower cordial, sugar, a bit of agar, vanilla and salt that would slightly would make the jelly and then cool it over ice so that the vanilla beans sort of set, like hold within the gel, and then set it into a strawberry mold. Once they're set, we'll turn that out, and then the cream component was coconut cream. It's a sweetened coconut cream that we'll pipe on the top, and then when in season, we'll take a little bit of lovage and break off the stalk and put it in the strawberry, and then like ball out some strawberries and with the remaining strawberry carcass, let's say, we toss macerate sugar and then press that for the juice, and then glaze up the strawberries, and then each tiny little strawberry would have an elderflower on it. And fuck me, that sounds complicated now, doesn't it? Like this is, say that aloud, I'm like, I'm so done with it, but that's what we that's what we were doing. And those 4 dishes at its peak, if I go back a few years, like that was yeah, that would have been 4 dishes of a menu. There was 6 other things, it's just so much. And, eventually when we get to this topic, it's one, I don't want to be putting that much effort into, composed dishes anymore. And, you know, it was great then. It's not so great for me now.
I mean, it's actually so amazing to hear you going through the emotional trajectory of being, I suppose the emotional development of a chef through describing that dish, Pete. That was so telling. It was like you almost couldn't be bothered like getting to the end of the description.
Yeah, I ran out of steam for it. It's like it's it's good. It's but I never forget like the moments when these things come about, when we're like, we do this and we add that, and this is the beauty about the people that I've worked with here, that I've had working here, is that I'll have the idea, someone else might have the idea, but we'll get to a point where it's refined and goes on the menu because we believe it's got a place within. This goes back to right when I had sort of Zach first. He was, big sort of playing part in the restaurant in the early days, right from the pop up to the first part before he finished here after I think it might have been 5 years before he went off to do his own, great things at Bar Liberty and what he's doing now. And then with Henry Salt, the head chef, who again was with Zach and I as started as a CDP and then went to sous chef, and then eventually when Zach left, took over the head chef role. So that this the other side of things is it's really, I don't know. I care. I've always cared more about what those guys think than what anybody else thinks. Like not to throw any shade or anything, but if we believe something's works, and other people's opinions are different, sometimes we're like, I don't care. I haven't cared, and that's been part of my nature. That's been part of every step that I've taken with the restaurant. And it's that you've got to do what's feeling right within the walls with the team at any given moment.
I guess you've got to back yourself, like you've gone into a restaurant or you've created a restaurant because you want to express your own creativity. You've got to stand behind that to a certain degree and hope that it finds enough of an audience so that you can keep doing it as part of a sustainable business. I suppose you've got to trust your own voices or the voices of those whose opinions you value around you. But it must have been, was it challenging at times, Pete, as you've changed the way that you want to cook to be a leader through that?
Yeah. And, this is an interesting thing now. Like, there's lots of voices being, sharing how difficult the industry is. But in my opinion, it's been difficult since day one. We've had year on year, there's been different challenges. And as far as I know, before I was even cooking, hospitality has been a difficult business to get into. And you've got to be able to adapt and evolve with not only the economy, but the people's expectations and so on. There's been there's nights where we've had two guests, there's nights when there's been no bookings, but then there's nights, like last night we had 82 covers. Tonight we've got 27, and this is only a 30-seat restaurant with a 16-seat bar. So you can see where like the inconsistencies occur and make things difficult, because how do you staff for that? How do you order for that? How do you just manage the business day to day when that's what you're dealing with? And there's parts of that that's contributed to my decision of no longer continuing, but it's not by any means the sole reason.
So let's talk more about that. we've been talking about catching up on the podcast for a while, but I was prompted to reach out to you urgently when I saw you announce on your Instagram that you were going to close Ides on its 10th birthday, which is in March. I found that honestly, I found it quite an exciting move. When we spoke around the review that I was writing about the restaurant, we chatted about you reframing the experience because of the kind of food that you wanted to cook, but also, I guess, meeting the reality of how people wanted to dine and how they were able to spend at the moment. Also cognizant, as you say, like, it's never been an easy equation to make right. A small independent restaurant in an inner city suburb, yeah, it's definitely not a license to print money. So please tell me, please tell me about the pathway of decision making that took you from reframing Ides and continuing into the second decade and deciding to close.
Well, I think, it's things happen quick here. Things have always happened quick. We've sort of, we're not that's the beauty of the suburban independent restaurant is we're pretty nimble. We can move very quickly. I don't need to get approval from anybody. I've got my business partners that have believed in me since day one, both creatively and financially, trusted me to make the right decisions. And we were talking about it for so long, and we spoke in December, but really that whole thing had been underway for a fair amount of time. It's just that, like I mentioned earlier, it was just that real double down on getting that message out there that we'd never really done, because financially, the tasting menu has always suited this restaurant better. It's more sustainable in terms of being able to commit to a product for an extended period of time with a supplier, so that we can get some consistent, stable pricing there, and we know how much we're going to be using, and it's just easier to cost dishes and menus in that way. Whereas and we're guaranteed a minimum spend per head when we were serving the tasting menus. So we've always, like I mentioned, we had the tasting menu for some a la carte menu for some time, mostly just served in the bar. It's taken many shapes and changes, but the double down and to really put it out there was to, as we've spoke about, encourage diners to come. But it's also like a risk on our end, because the head per spend varies so wildly, and it becomes where we've been successful in our steak night model. It's not a set menu, but it's a bunch of food that you get for a certain amount of price, which we can tailor, and we can understand the minimum price per head and what goes into that. But it had been sort of taking shape for some time. Fortunate enough to speak with you, and you came in and reviewed us, and like I've expressed to you and I've expressed to like everyone, you nailed it. I want to take some credit here too. I believe I fucking nailed it too, because that it was exactly where we're going. It was exactly where we are, where we were. Because I mean, the review is null and void now, because as of Saturday, we don't offer a la carte anymore. We're going to ride this thing out in a full circle moment, go back to the original smaller set menu, that price, and it's going to allow me to wrap things up safely by not accruing any sort of ridiculous supplier debt or anything like that. But I don't know if you can recall, like this. So the closure had always been had been a part of the conversation for almost sort of 12 months from the back end. And I don't know if you recall, but at the end of our conversation, we spoke for about 45 minutes when we were talking through the food and the review and your experiences. But I nearly slipped up when I touched on some points about when you close, you got to do it the right way and so on and so forth. I don't know if you can recall that, but that's been the working angle for this, is being able to get it to a point where we can do it the right way, in which the right way for me is to ensure that the staff are paid. So like we've paid our December quarter. We're going to have minimal super when we close, given the time frame. Our supplier debt is manageable. We've got no loans against the business, and we do unfortunately owe the taxman some, which is, you know, it's part of the parcel, and they'll get their money for sure, but it's in a way that it's controlled. It's by design. It's like, and it likens to every other decision that I've ever made. I made the decision. I went public with the decision without the help of anybody else. You know, it was the right thing to do, I think. And yeah, it was funny because I did almost go down the tangent of expressing a little bit more than I wanted to when we spoke.
So hang on a minute. Did you play me?
A little bit, yeah. I think like it was, you know, we knew that, and I knew the date the review was coming out a little bit as well. So I wanted to let that do the thing, and then, you know, it's all like there's always. I think what's interesting, and I like to think a lot of my peers that do have, you know, these independent suburban restaurants, as you mentioned, we don't have big budgets to play with, but there's nothing stopping us from having a strategy. There's nothing stopping us from having a play. There's nothing stopping us from planning. There's nothing stopping anybody in any sort of business to want something or to work something, you know, like it was a process that I don't think, no, I didn't play. It was just you join the party, you know, and it became part of the motion.
That's so interesting. Because I remember, so we spoke for the review, and spoke for ages, but then we also had a chat. I remember I was walking around Brighton going to some open gardens, feeling annoyed about rich people. We spoke then as well. And that's when you told me that you were shaking things up a little bit and you were focusing more on the a la carte. But even then, did you think you were going to close in March?
No, like I said, I can liken it to this time of year last year when I really started feeling like I want to take my foot off the gas a little bit. And the example is like the Pride Party is coming up. So every year, the Midsummer Festival, it's such a great day for us. Like we close the restaurant, we get a marquee out on the street, cook some chicken skewers we do like a nori marinated skewer and a yuzu spritz, which is the base of that yuzu drop that you mentioned in your review, topped with yuzu soda. And it's just such a good day. We start at 10 a.m. We sort of wrapped up by 8:30, 9 o'clock. Everybody's lit. Everybody's excited. The sun's out. And it's such a great day. And on that weekend, the Saturday night before, we had a full restaurant, but it was one of the fucking hardest services I've ever done. We were down on staff. Everyone had some sort of dietary requirement. Like it was just a really tough restaurant service for us. And then the next day into the Pride Party, and it was so good. You know, obviously the night before dramas are long gone, but then it comes Monday when I reconcile the weekend and I look at the money we took for our day on the barbecue versus for the money we took on the night in the restaurant and the effort involved in both. And I think there was one clear winner for me, and that was to stand out in the sun cooking on a barbecue. You know, and I think it's, you know, like I say, it's actually this time of year. It was like the Pride Party's on February 8th. But yeah, so since then I've had this like slow thing because, Danny, there's just no fucking half stepping it for me. Like I can't do this halfway. You know, I can't do it. What we spoke about and how you portrayed Ides is where it's at now, and I do not want to take that any lower. I don't want to I don't want to drop the standard or style or offering anymore, because I believe the restaurant is beautiful. We've redone it over the last little bit. We've rebranded. This is how locked in I am, right? Still to this day for the restaurant. Like, it was just Easter. We spent 25 grand to join the two properties. So, like, the restaurant is beautiful, and I don't want to lower the Ides brand or ruin the Ides brand by hating the job, So I want, the idea is to go out on a high, and hopefully, we're talking to a few people, we can hand the restaurant over, the space over, not the brand. The brand will cease with me. To have somebody that will come into the space and take it into the future.
And what about yourself, Pete? What are you going to do?
You have to wait. And make probably another video to announce that at some point. It's we've got.
You can play me again. So do you reckon, you don't want to do that kind of food with creating a shell of a strawberry and doing a million more things to it? And I remember that dish, and it was so fun and super tasty, and I'm glad you did it, even if you don't want to do it anymore. But do you reckon people, you don't want to do that food, do you reckon anyone should be doing that food, or is it just
Yes, I do. I think, if you look at Hugh's success and what he's doing, and that, you just got to have that drive and commitment. Well, maybe it's not food like that, but that high-end dining experience wholeheartedly. You look at what Hugh's doing with Yagia and everything, that is locked in. That is unbeatable. That is a commitment to the craft. The restaurant is beautiful. The food looks great. He's a good dude. He takes care of his people. There is a place for it. See, I'm not by any means saying that Ides was in that category, because it wasn't, never was, never intended to be. But the middle market of fine dining where I'd sat that's probably not really appealing to most. I think, if you want to go out and maybe have I think what's going to happen, and I feel like what has happened over time, if you're going to go out and you feel like you're going to spend $200 for dinner, what's another $50 to go to the new 3 Hat restaurant, or so I guess, what I'm saying is, yes, there is people should be still cooking fine dining, high end tasting menus and so on, if you can fucking commit. And I can no longer commit, which is why I'm, stepping out of doing that. And I want to just, sorry, Dani, I just want to shout out to Clinton McIver and Amaru. We started in and around the same time, different goals we wanted to achieve, and completely different business models. End of the day, it's still cooking, putting food on plates and serving in a restaurant. And look at, he's just been fucking a weapon, from taking it all the way from 1 hat to 2 hats to 3 hats, and still just getting started, And I've got so much respect for him, because we've been, we've just been a part of the industry at the same time for this period, and we've faced similar difficulties in the as it relates to quiet nights and high expenses. It's business has gotten more expensive to run. There's no doubt about that, and it's always important to have people that you can contact and speak to and navigate through these hard times with, which is sometimes tricky to find, I think. And
he's been that person or one of those people for you?
Not like every day or every week by any means, but at points throughout my career, my time with Ides, most definitely. I can just relate with him with so much.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they are very different restaurants, on different sides of the city, and I guess different price points for different customers. That's yeah, anyway, there's differences, but I certainly can see the similarities. Speaking of hats, Pete, so I just would love to know what you thought about me dropping the Ides score from 16.5 to 15.5, taking it down from 2 hats to 1 hat. It's what did you think of that? Give me some criticism.
I don't know. To be honest, maybe you know what I thought, because I knew this announcement was coming. Like, we made a little thing to cover that had nothing to do with this decision making in our closing message that I just shared on my stories. That it's not about that. And Dani, for me, it's never been about the hats. If 2 hats was if that drove business, I couldn't tell you. It's never been a driving factor for me. I've appreciated the acknowledgement and recognition, and I think I've got the only piece of like award type thing that we've got hanging in the place is above my pastry section, in a little nook between the cool room door and the extraction fans, is our 2016 1 hat certificate that was professionally framed. And if I'm honest, and reflecting about it now, this just contributes to our full circle moment. Like I say, like we've done this, and we're back, and we're going out this way. 1 hat, 2 hats, no hats. It doesn't change who I am, what Ides is, and where I'm going.
I love it. I guess from my point of view, and I said this in the review, it's usually you'd think of it that it was a negative to take a restaurant from 2 hats to 1 hat, but I saw it as such a positive, and felt like it was just about reframing the message. To me, you're sending a certain message about a restaurant when you give it 2 hats. You're sending a different message when it's got 1 hat. Scores and hats are very blunt instruments, and they don't really reflect. I mean, they're just a signal, I guess, and then you sort of go on and try to explain it or justify it or put some meaning behind it. But to me, it was funny. It was a funny feeling because I felt like it was an endorsement, even though the score was going down. And then I tried to fill it out with the backstory and a bit of context. And just like the endless joy that honestly it's been for me to, puzzle over what you're doing. I think it's been really fun, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you. Like I said, I've always respected you, Dani, and appreciated your work and your commitment to your craft within the industry. Like I say, it's never been about those things for us. And if it was, I don't think we would have lasted this 10-year journey. And even in the conversation that we had when we were talking through the bits and pieces for the review, after a little bit with how difficult the industry is, not only within restaurants, but I think for food media as well, where, you need stuff that people are going to engage with. And I don't know if this is still the case, but there's all these fucking firewalls, and you've got to pay for this, that, and the other. And people are not really doing that. So your pieces are just not really getting it landing, and sometimes where they should. We, as a restaurant that has been around for this long, we sort of somewhat get forgotten about, which is why a stirring up the pot, a shaking up of the cookie jar, whatever analogy you want to use, is helpful for us. And it's much better than me telling people to get fucked, and causing a scene in that sort of regard. It's always positive to be mentioned. There's one thing I'll say. I thought the heading for the review was a little clickbaity, but aside from that, I agree with your comments, and I have nothing fucking negative to say about it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I can't actually remember the headline. I don't write the headlines. Not that I'm saying.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it is interesting. Like, you know, people being asked to pay for content. It's such a tricky one because, yeah, it's like. People don't walk into a restaurant. Well, most people don't walk into a restaurant and expect not to pay. Yeah, it's like I've got to...
You'd be surprised.
No, yeah, I'm probably using the wrong analogy there. I wouldn't walk into a restaurant and expect not to pay. And I totally understand the need to pay for content. I also get that, you know, people have got... We're all subscribed to too many things and we got to make our choices. But I honestly value anyone who sees the value in media of any sort and puts their money where their eyeballs are. Is there anything else you want to say, Pete?
No, just thank you for your time. And, you know, I should apologise because I haven't engaged. I know we've done this before many years ago, but I haven't really listened or subscribed, which I'll do now. I listen to basketball and football related, so very, very different.
Oh, no, you don't have to listen to the podcast. I'm more, and the podcast is always free. I just mean people paying for journalism or media in general, and it doesn't really matter what it is. Just the idea that content should be free is just really tricky because it costs money to live, and yeah, professionals need to get paid. So no, you never have to listen to the podcast, and you never have to subscribe to The Age or Good Food. It's like it's all good. But yeah, I'm still looking forward to. I'm not even connecting those things. Whatever you're doing next, I'm really looking forward to coming and checking it out.
Yeah, thank you. And if you know, to just all the people that have listened and made it to this far and that have dined with us and that I haven't, you know. Or maybe I won't get a chance to sort of thank them for dining, because every little dollar, every little bit of engagement, every sort of interaction within the restaurant has helped us every part of this journey, and it's nothing I've taken for advantage at any given time, you know. So yeah, thank you, thanks to anyone that's listening to this even, and yeah, just really grateful. I really I don't know, first time I'm getting emotional about it all, but yeah, really grateful.
Well, you've made so many people happy. So many people are really passionate about Ides and what you've created and the way that your team, that I know you value so highly, has looked after them. What can you hope for, if not to create beautiful moments for people, you know, to remember and think about and carry with them. So yeah, you've done some beautiful stuff.
Thank you.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinenat deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This